What's good, boy dudes and boy dudettes? And today we have got Peter Pan, a 1953 American animated fantasy film produced by Walt Disney and based on the play Peter Pan or The Boy Who Wouldn't Grow Up by J.M. Barrie. It's the 14th film in the Disney animated feature canon and released on February 5th, 1953 by RKO Radio Pictures. Peter Pan is the final Disney animated feature film through RKO before Walt Disney's founding of its own distribution company, Buena Vista Distribution. And Peter Pan is also the final film in which all 9 members of Disney's 9 old men worked together as directing animators. And what is this timeless classic all about? Well, let me tell you. Basically, in this Disney animated film, Wendy, voiced by Kathleen Beaumont, and her 2 brothers are amazed when a magical boy named Peter Pan, voiced by Bobby Discroll, flies into their bedroom, supposedly in pursuit of his rebellious shadow. He and his fairy friend Tinkerbell come from a far-off place called Neverland, where children stay prematurely young. Enchanted, the kids follow him back. But when Pan's nemesis, the pirate Captain Hook, voiced by Hans Conried, causes trouble, the kids begin to miss their old life. But can they return back home? Well, you gotta see the film for yourself for me to tell you that. And this movie, honestly, I'd never grew up with this film. I'm gonna say that. I always knew what Peter Pan was, but for some odd reason, I never watched it. It never, ever just was like, this is a film I need to watch. And I only watched it like 2-3 years ago for the very first time. Yes. And I have to admit, this film kind of blew me away. It was so fun and just entertaining and funny and emotional and dramatic and just whimsical, just making you feel like a kid. And where do I begin with this film? I mean, golly, let's talk about the positives of this film. I mean, and the positive, I have to say, it is the flipping characters in this movie. You have Peter Pan, who was this kind of he's this kind of mischievous little dude who's like always kind of like up to no good, but he always has a good heart as well, to be honest with you. But let's start off with like how the movie begins, and we have the darling children. Wendy, who's the other darling kid? John, I think. Wendy, John, and George Darling, the 3 darling children. Wendy's the eldest. She's pretty much 12 going on 13, and obviously her father is really adamant on her trying to move out of the nursery so she can mature, because she keeps believing in Peter Pan and all that. And even her father, I have to admit, for the short amount of time he's in, he's a flipping funny yet stern man. Her father's just like, he's adamant for her to like get out and mature and just grow up, while his wife, the mother, is just still like fantasizing about Peter Pan, and she still believes in all that. And I love the contrast. It's very, 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 very funny, to be honest with you. I got mixed up. George Darling isn't the children, he's the father. Michael is the youngest. I got those 2 mixed up. And George Darling, he's moody, he's dramatic, he's known as a practical man. He's had enough of Wendy's imaginary tales and he's frustrated. But he goes through an interesting arc, and he starts to realize that he may have been wrong towards the end. And John, he's the 2nd youngest of the darling children. He's kind of like the smart aleck. He's got the glasses and he's a good thinker, and he kind of reminds me of Simon from Alvin and the Chipmunks at times for some reason, to be honest with you. Then you got the cute little Michael Darling. He's this like 4-year-old who carries a teddy bear, and he's kind of like I kind of like how all these children are very different, and how they kind of like represent like how, you know, different stages of my life in a way. Like you've got Michael, who's like the younger dude. He's like the one who's like in awe of like Neverland, and he's like the kid like in me, you know. Like he's sensitive, he's a little clumsy, he's playful, he loves everything. Then you've got like John, who's like he's kind of like Michael, but he's quite smart. And he's like, you know, he's more aware. He's like quite like, oh, this is like Neverland. You know, we gotta like make sure we're safe and all that. And then you have Wendy, who's obviously kind of like the motherly person, who's always like, you know, looking out for her two younger siblings. And yeah, they've all just got really great personalities, each and every one of them. I love it. Then you have Peter Pan, the main character of the film. The boy who never grows up. God knows how old this kid is. Like, he's like commanding but brave. He can be kind of mean, to be honest with you. I don't know why, but Peter Pan, I like this dude, but he can be a little mean at times. He's always teasing Wendy constantly. In fact, not just him, but I feel like everyone just seems to really berate this poor girl Wendy. Like, even Tinkerbell, who's this like envious, jealous little fairy girl who just doesn't like Wendy, and you know, her jealousy causes Wendy to nearly be stoned to death, and eventually even tell Captain Hook's Pan's hideout. And wow, this little pixie is just flipping evil. And this Wendy, she's just this nice, innocent, little girl. And even when I noticed this film was also kind of sexist, because this poor girl, she just wants to get into fun, and then like when they're like in the like Indian tribe scene, like all the boys are going to dance and Wendy wants to join in, and then you have the woman say, "No girls dance. You do the washing or something like that. You do the cleaning," and it's like, give this girl a break. Give this girl a break. I feel for her. If you recognize Wendy's voice, she also is the same voice actress who voiced Alice in Wonderland, and she's just such a great character. She gives this nice and great performance, and obviously this film wouldn't be this film without the villain, Captain Hook, the pirate who seeks revenge on Peter Pan for having his left hand chopped off and fed to a crocodile in a battle. He's a dangerous villain with no conscience to recommend him, and he's just this kind of, I like the way he's animated and designed, and just everything about him. He's just really fun to look at. He can be nasty at times, but he's one of the villains where you just love to hate him in a way. And I don't think this villain would be as great without his like sidekick, Mr. Smee. This like, you know, kind of chubby little sidekick voiced by Bill Thompson, and I freaking love those two. Those two, I don't think the film would work without one or the other. They need those two. Like, they work as just a great pair. Honestly, I flipping love them. I don't know. Mr. Smee reminds me of someone for some reason. I don't know what movie, but it'll come to me. And the characters are all great, and as well as the characters being great, the animation of the characters are really good, and that's because they use a lot of like live action reference. As with previous Disney films, a live action version was filmed to serve as aid to help the animators animate the motion, and you can really see, and it's really, 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 really great. I flipping love it. I flipping love the animation. The background is also really nice. It is during the era, the kind of silver age of Disney animation as I consider it. And the backgrounds are just so lovely. I actually, for some reason, I particularly like the earlier scenes, like the first half of the scenes, like with like, I don't know, the house, like, I don't know, just the way the house is drawn, it just looks really nice, to be honest with you. And some of the streets, I love the streets. I love the scene where they're on the Big Ben. I think that's really nice. And obviously, we go to Neverland, and Neverland is this really cool place. I like the designs, they play with colors, and there's mermaids as well. It's so great. And I forgot, even the mermaids are rude to Wendy as well. Why is and then she gets kidnapped. This poor girl can never have a break. Honestly, give this girl a break. Give this girl a break. And I love this film, I really do. But there are some mixed aspects of the film, and it's the only thing I'm not too keen on. Like, the one thing I'm not keen on. And obviously, you kind of know what it is. It's the Native American Indians in this film. They're kind of, a lot of people today kind of see this film as racist towards Native Americans, as they are kind of displayed as wild, savage, violent, and speak in a stereotypical manner. And obviously, the song "What Makes the Red Man Red," um, it's basically the Indians reflecting on how they got their color of the skin, like that color, and it's yeah. Even today, J.M. Barrie's play. Basically, Mark Davis, one of the supervising animators of the film, did say in an interview a few years ago after the production that he is not sure that they would have done the Indians if they were making a film in 21st century today. And if they did make the Indians, they would not have done it the way they did back then. They would have done it completely different. And yeah, every time I do see that, I do kind of cringe. But I don't know. I still quite like them, but it's just oh gosh, 1950s. Remember? Oh, I don't know. I could literally do a whole video on the Indians, to be honest with you, and but this video will go on too long, to be honest with you. But that's it. That's all I don't like about this film, to be honest with you. Those are also a bunch of interesting lads as well, who I quite like as well. They're all unique and fun and interesting, and yeah, I look at them and I'm just like wondering, I mean, how long have they actually been there, to be honest with you? I mean, it looks like they've been there for a long time, and the fact that they don't know what a mother is just goes to show you that, wow. I mean, there's a scene where little what's his face, Michael, is saying to Wendy, "Are you my mother, Wendy?" And she's like, "No, I'm not. Don't you remember who your mother was?" And it just, that kind of broke my heart, because it just makes you realize that, these boys probably were whisked away to Neverland, and they too have also forgotten about their parents. And I don't know, I kind of feel a bit sad and sorry for them in a way, but they instantly forgot all about that, and it was back to normal anyway. This film also just has a really great soundtrack. If you remember me here and singing the song in the beginning, I love the soundtrack. It's so catchy, it's so lovely, it's so this movie is just fun and just gorgeous to look at. I mean, man, this is probably the only Disney film I've seen since Hercules that I am probably willing to buy on Blu-ray. And just, I'm willing to spend my money on rewatching this film. It's just a fun movie, and oh, I honestly regret not growing up with this film, because it's a film that I would have definitely enjoyed. It's fun, it's exciting, it's wild, it's hilarious, it has quiet moments, it has sad moments, especially the scene with Wendy like singing that song about a mother and all that, and it's just oh, it does make you, it's called Your Mother and Mine, I think, and it's so lovely, man. Oh, it's so it has this nice moments, to be honest with you, and this film is just almost, I would say, a perfect Disney film. Like, I'm putting my hand up. This is a perfect Disney film. Like, this film has everything you want in a Disney film and more. And it was a pleasure to watch this film. I really did. I really enjoyed it, and I'll definitely watch it again in the future, and again and again and again. And there's no surprise there. This film is definitely getting an A star from me and a 10 out of 10. It's just such a wild film to watch, and I'm gutted I didn't grow up with this film. But hey, I watched it now, and here we are talking about it. But even Michael Jackson, the king of pop, has claimed that Peter Pan is his favorite film of all time, and it's a no-brainer why he named his like theme park Neverland Ranch in Santa Barbara, and yeah, yeah, just a great film. So thank you for watching the review. Please, I'm begging you to buy the Blu-ray and watch it immediately. It's a great film. You won't regret it. Like and share this video, comment down below and tell me what's your favorite Disney film. What's your favorite part of this film? With that said, thank you for watching the review. And as always, Boyd is signing out.